Yo.
Yes, sir. What's up, guys?
Yes. This DJ will kick the floor in 3, 2, 1.
On the troll. On the troll.
Hello and welcome to Mzansi. We're back again. It's that time of the night where we have to do things the way we normally do. Today, we've got a story, and the story has to do with Mafe. One of the guy, actually, the only guy that you would know of that is alleged to have at some point banned the parliament in Cape Town. Well, today he came into court. Unfortunately, this whole proceeding was not televised. We only saw a snip of what happened there, which really we will discuss in detail of what we think, obviously, and we are going to bring what we call our evidence. As Mzansi, and our evidence is obviously what we get from the public. And from that, whatever that we feel should be together is going to be together. And we hope that you're going to be enjoying that. It's a one that you don't want to miss, because there's something brewing about that case. And it's a case, again, we are always dealing with crime cases these days, and that's how we roll. So whatever that you see here, probably this month and probably the next month, that's what you're going to be indulging more in this channel of Mzansi. For other things, you should go to the other channel of Mzansi. For those who do not know it, we will post it, I think. Emily, greet our people. And while we do that, before you even do that, let us remind them, please subscribe, like the video. And this video requires a lot of data. Kalo. Emily, do what you need to do.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us as we unpack this whole Zandile Mafe saga. We know
is it Zandile?
Zandile.
Okay.
Zandile Mafe.
All right.
Zandile Christmas Mafe.
All right.
Today he gave his full names.
Intentionally, me, Christmas Zandile Mafe.
For those who don't know who Zandile Mafe is, he is accused of starting the fire that gutted the National Assembly building and parts of the old assembly on the 2nd of January 2022. Now that is the parliament in Cape Town. So he is charged with terrorism, arson is for burning, and housebreaking and theft, and blamed for the fire that was caused in January 22 over there at the parliament in Cape Town. So apparently it will cost around 2 billion to repair the damage. Now, I slotted this piece of information in, but you guys will find out later why.
Will it?
This
will
amount,
it cost that much?
Yes, they estimated it to be 2 billion.
So how much will it take to move it?
Double the amount. It's being estimated as double the amount. But from what I heard in some of the clips is that they're going to need to build two. One in Cape Town and the other one in another province if this bill gets passed. So
okay.
We will unpack it later for you guys, all of this information. So his behavior in court and body language when he first got arrested raised concerns over his mental health, hence the referral for a psychiatric evaluation. Now, the first tests that were done on Zandile said that he had suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, but the court overturned those findings due to procedural technicalities. So Zandile Christmas Mafe is currently on pre-trial, and he went on a rant before his case could start today. Coming from the holding cells and entering the dock, Mafe let loose and admitted to burning parliament. Now we will play the footage, and that rant, we'll insert it here.
Burn it intentionally, me, Christmas Zandile Mafe. I wanna burn it more if it doesn't move to Bloemfontein or Pretoria. The service delivery protest, which is occurring outside is about my release. Last year was a service delivery occurred 5,000 service delivery. Most of it was a violence service delivery. Shedding occurred 207 days last year. Load shedding occurred 177 times. I want this parliament to the majority of the people. It must move here from the racist right-wing DA. DA must not be in the parliament. DA are killers and blacks. Even now it is democracy. Helen Zille is just a messy right-wing. I'm not afraid of a life sentence. You took me to the psychiatrist. That is not psychiatrist, is a court, is a private court. So me, I don't want in this land. They must bring back land to black peoples, and that whites are. They kill us blacks. They took 98% of the land. Blacks are staying in only just 2% with their shacks caught fire. Too much black people don't have jobs. Many whites are not educated, but they have high positions. The leader of DA was staying in Hazel with only a matric. Went to you also there to talk what is in his own interest of his DA right wing for only whites. They make blacks dull. Blacks they fired Muslim my man. They fired too much black people because they used them. After that, they throw them.
He has admitted to starting the fire, and this is what he said, and I quote, "Before proceedings began, Mafe yelled, 'I ban it intentionally. I'm gonna ban it more if it doesn't move to Bloemfontein or Pretoria.' He added, 'Give me a life sentence of 25 years. I will be the next president in 2048. Also, the service delivery protests outside are about my release. You must take it to Bloemfontein, that parliament. If you don't take it to Pretoria, if you don't relocate, it must move. This parliament here, I banned it intentionally. Me, Christmas Zandile Mafe, I'm going to ban it more if it doesn't move to Bloemfontein or Pretoria," he said while gesturing his hands all over the place. Last year, load shedding occurred for 2,900 hours. 207 days later, load shedding occurred 177 times. Now, I was pretty shocked by him stating all of these numbers and all of these facts. And I'm like, where is he getting them from? I am still wondering about that. He was adamant that Parliament should be removed from the majority of the people. Also targeting the DA and the people of no color over there, the Cape Town, and calling them the R word that shall not be mentioned here due to YouTube guidelines. So throughout the theatrics, Kutiwa, these theatrics lasted at about 10 minutes. He was ranting for a whole 10 minutes. And we can only include snippets of that 10 minutes. So Judge Nathan Erasmus maintained his cool.
Sorry,
and
how
did
many days
not-
did he say there was load shedding in South Africa last year?
2,900 hours, 270 days last year. So he said last year.
207 days.
Yes, 207 days. And then 2,900 hours.
Okay. All right. Continue.
Judge Nathan Erasmus maintained his cool and did not interrupt Mafe. When proceedings eventually got underway, Judge Erasmus said, "I deliberately did not interrupt Mr. Mafe. I'm aware of his medical condition and I didn't want to exacerbate it."
Yes.
More drama ensued as Erasmus lifted a ban on the media from reporting on the findings by the psychiatrists and psychologists, which include the accused is unable to follow court proceedings as to make a proper defense, or at the time of the commission of the offense, the accused was unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of the act in question and to act in accordance with an appreciation of the wrongfulness of his act. So Mafe's defense team said they were not prepared to proceed, and Mpofu asked for a postponement so that a forensic psychiatrist could meet Mafe on Zoom. Only then would they be able to say whether they agreed with the report's diagnosis or intend to contest it. Prosecutor Mervyn Menigo reiterated that the state has been ready to proceed since August 2022 when the pre-trial proceedings began. He told the court that in court they got a taste of Mr. Mafe's conditions. He said, "I'm just a bit concerned if indeed the diagnosis is correct as indicated in the report. Taking off my lawyer hat and putting on my humanitarian hat, we are dealing with someone who is inhumane." End quote. Judge Erasmus said this will be the final postponement if nothing is received from the parties. He said, "I'm satisfied that I will deal with the matter in terms of the report. The defense and the state have been ordered to file their respective reports by the 8th of August. The court further ordered that Mafe be held in the hospital section of Portsmouth Prison or any other correctional facility if there is no space available." The judge reiterated, and I quote, "I don't want Mr. Mafe to be held with the general population. The matter has been postponed to the 10th of August, where proceedings will be heard virtually. The court will also request that the Department of Corrections set up the necessary electronic equipment so that if any of the psychiatrists on the platform wish to consult with the accused, they can do so." Now, this was a lot. In fact, some people on social media seem to believe that Zandile Mafe may have been somehow coached or trained allegedly to say all of those things that he said in court. So one person is quoted being saying, "If you do not see that this is a rehearsed, then you need to be checked. This media is feeding us ish." End quote. So there was a time even last year when Zandile Mafe first got arrested, and we got some people that were fighting on him. I remember on social media, a lot of people could not believe that Zandile Mafe had actually been the one who burned Parliament. It seemed like bayamsukela, or they just saw him as the weakest link because he was sleeping close to the Parliament. So his cousin at the time, sometime last year, even testified, Sibongile Matiwani, said Mafe fell on difficult times during COVID-19 and a hard lockdown in 2021. He resorted to sleeping outside Parliament, where he was arrested on suspicion of setting the blaze. So earlier this year, also, Azapo said Mafe should not be in jail. A party spokesperson, Juan Tabale Nodata, accused the state of using a defenseless black man as a scapegoat in the matter while protecting the real perpetrators of the crime. He said, and I quote, "We are saying as Azapo, refusing people bail on the basis of no fixed address is political, and also it has got some undertones. Firstly, blacks are landless, and the fact that they occupy informal settlements is not their own doing. Punishing them, therefore, is a bit extreme. When the law is able to use technology to be able to trace the whereabouts of an accused person who is on bail." At the time, Azapo was not the only ones who thought Zandile Mafe did not do it. A lot of people on social media also came to that conclusion. Now, although authorities say that they have footage of him entering the parliament with an explosive device, allegedly, or as the public, we are yet to see that footage. I think we were waiting for the trial perhaps to see it or something, but so far I don't think it has been released in the public space. So the question now is, was Zandile influenced to say all of these things? You know, do they come from him? Was he told? Was he asked to perform? What is happening? Because even in the manner and the body language that he's saying it, I personally, in my own opinion, am not convinced. I'm not convinced, but we will see at the end of the day what is about to take place. And there's also extra information, Mr. Anonymous. I don't know if you care to know it as well.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, Mafe was sent for a psychiatric evaluation at the Fort England Psychiatric Hospital in the Eastern Cape after he refused to be admitted to Falcon Hospital in Cape Town. So a psychiatric report on the alleged parliament arsonist Zandile Mafe was expected to take center stage when he returned to the Western Cape High Court. So the court had ordered that a psychiatrist assess him to determine whether he's able to follow court proceedings or not and understand the gravity of his charges. So in May, Judge Nathan Erasmus received a psychiatric evaluation report from medical experts, but ruled that its contents should not be made public. He gave Mafe's defense a month to consult with the client. Mafe was sent to Fort England Psychiatric Hospital in March for assessment. Apparently, this hospital is in the Eastern Cape. So Mafe had been sent for a 30-day psychiatric observation at the Fort England Psychiatric Hospital in the Eastern Cape after he refused to go to a Cape Town hospital. So Mafe is currently detained in the hospital section of the Portsmouth Correctional Facility. So Zandile Mafe's psychiatric assessment results were sealed from the media and public to afford him time to discuss them with his lawyers in June 2023 by a court order. So Mafe appeared in the Western Cape High Court last month for further pre-trial arrangements following an extended assessment at Fort England Hospital in the Eastern Cape. Judge Nathan Erasmus said he had read the report, sent it to the prosecution and counsel, and wanted to know the plan from thereon. Mafe's advocate, Dali Mpofu, said he needed to consult with Mafe before saying anything and told Erasmus that the accused reserved his right to dispute the report. Erasmus recapped by saying that the purpose of the referral was to determine whether the accused was capable of following court proceedings, and the judge also wanted to ascertain whether Mafe could appreciate the wrongfulness of an act and an act in accordance with that position. Funny how that was the conclusion that was came to today. So Erasmus held a slim report that was sent to him and said that the findings were unanimous. With the media poised to hear the outcome, he asked Mpofu if he should reveal the findings, just the diagnosis, or neither. There will be a lot of speculation, Erasmus said. So he pointed out that it was already part of the court record and asked, should I bar the media from limited access, or should I just give the finding and make that public in the public domain? Mpofu was fresh from a bruising battle in Pietermaritzburg relating to the medical records of the former president, and he said that he would prefer to discuss the report with Mafe first. In the meantime, reserved his right to dispute it and even bring other experts in. Erasmus ordered that neither the findings nor the report be made public. Now, this was last month in June. After that rant today before the court this morning, the judge decided to unseal Zandile Mafe's psychiatric report. And according to reports, the psychiatric report has found that Mafe is unable to follow court proceedings, and Zandile Mafe was declared unable to follow court proceedings or understand the wrongfulness of his actions, according to a specialist panel at Fort England Hospital, Western Cape High Court.
Well, I hear you saying Fort England. Do you mean England?
No, it's in the Eastern Cape.
What is it called?
Fort England Hospital.
Okay, I just wanted to hear that.
But
Yeah.
he refused to go to one in the Western Cape or in Cape Town. So it's a lot. It's a lot with this Zandile Mafe issue. And Judge Nathan Erasmus said that he was also unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of the acts he is accused of. So for me, it's quite interesting that the initial diagnosis that said that he had paranoia, schizophrenia, wanted to determine these 2 points, that he can't stand for trial. And
Okay.
that he can't appreciate the wrongfulness of the acts that he's accused of.
Yeah.
And today, that conclusion was made, but we don't know what mental health he's diagnosed with. That has not been disclosed yet. However, the final decision on whether he will stand trial will be made on the 10th of August, after Erasmus granted Mafe's lawyer one final postponement to the 10th of August. So this is to indicate whether Mafe will contest the findings of the panelists appointed by the state.
All right. So I guess here I'm gonna come on my side. I think you have dealt with this case.
I've tried to summarize.
So where is this case going, Emid? In my own thinking, I think that there might be battles of power. I would put it like that. I don't know if I'm allowed to use the word P in this case. So I would say battles of power when it comes to who is in charge of what part of South Africa. Why am I saying that?
Why?
The wedding when Zandile Mafe was ranting, it sounded similar and echoing a certain political party. And if you listen to it, it sounds like, if you listen to him properly, you would swear he is part of a certain party, which is EFF. Do you understand? And I'm not saying that is the case, but he was echoing most of the words that we have heard from some of the from some of the leaders of the EFF when they are arguing or when they have things to say. Most of them, not all of them. Why am I saying that? The issue of the parliament being moved from Cape Town to Pretoria, specifically, it was a suggestion. It is a suggestion that was motioned or could be motioned.
Actually.
It's a bill that should be passed. That is still currently being opposed. That it comes to Pretoria because that's a central part and that's a capital seat. And it has been opposed by certain political parties. I would say most political parties. As the reports would say, some reports have said that.
Should Parliament move to Tshwane Well, that's what the EFF is proposing to lawmakers. A 2018 assessment study estimated that the relocation process could cost around 9 billion rand at the time, but the EFF insists it wants the administrative and legislative capital in one place to ensure access and accountability.
Why are we in Cape Town? It's not accessible. It doesn't make sense for a democratic parliament to be on the furthest corner of South Africa. That is why we say today, even in the Chief Whips Forum, we had engagement with the Speaker that why can't we start a process of relocating Parliament to an area which is accessible? If we take Parliament to Gauteng, the people from Limpopo, from Mpumalanga, from Northwest, from KwaZulu-Natal, from the Northern Cape, will have an opportunity to drive in the morning, make a submission and go back home at night. And the people, members of Parliament, we will have an opportunity to, on Mondays, Tuesdays, do their constituency work and still come and oversee the state and oversee government and pass legislation. When we're looking for accountability from the government departments, we do not need to wait for people to come with flights, whether business class or not, which is not saving any cost now, by the way. You just call them to say that from that department, let's call so and so to come and account here.
This private member bill to relocate the seat of Parliament is an act to make this Parliament the Parliament of many of our people. Our people must come to Parliament to participate and become part of holding the executive accountable and must become part of the lawmaking.
Parliament is also in the process of reconstructing the buildings damaged by the fire in January last year. The reconstruction is set to cost about 2.5 billion rand over 2 years. Other political parties are concerned about the costs of relocating the national legislature.
The reality is that as a national heritage site, it has to be rebuilt and restored. So relocating Parliament will thus mean that 2 parliaments will be built and at double the costs. This makes no financial sense and something the taxpayers cannot and will not afford. The country is in a desperate economic state. Costs are rising, unemployment is rising.
The relocation of Parliament to a central space geographically is to make it much more accessible, is to make it much more democratic. So if anything, this bill is about the intensification of democracy.
When we look at the figures for relocation, it runs into almost 13 to 14 billion. It is quite clear, Honourable Chairperson, that we can ill afford to spend state resources in that kind of manner.
It is not the correct costs. And the reason I say that, Chairperson, is that the relocation and the whole relocation of civil servants, I do not see in these costs.
Faced with other important social and economic priorities for the country, this bill is not a priority for the country. We therefore do not and will not support this bill. We'll go into detail about our political, social and economic reasons for rejecting this bill when it referred to a relevant portfolio or standing committee.
But Malema is unfazed about the cost factor.
The argument which everybody seems to be advancing that there are more important issues that are pressing in our country and that the money can be used effectively to improve on those issues than to relocate Parliament. It's a disingenuous argument because all of those issues that are happening in our country, they're as a result of a dysfunctional democracy.
The EFF would need the support of other political parties for the bill to be approved.
And the issue of how he was dealing with what colonized, talking about colonization and talking about people of no color and specifically pointing to, we will have videos of this obviously in trying to show you. But what am I saying? Am I saying that is the case? Am I saying that I believe that?
What are you saying?
I do not. I do not believe that. But one can go further and argue that, but if there's Mpofu there representing this guy, who comes from EFF, and this guy is talking like an EFF member.
And he's doing the case pro bono.
Allegedly. So those are the things that you might listen to and you might believe. But I don't believe that. Now, come with me why I don't believe that.
Why don't you believe that?
What is the level of education in terms of, if you know anything about Zandile Mafe?
Well, the people that know him were saying that he's educated.
To what
but
level?
I don't know to what level. I don't know.
That's probably something that we'll need to find out. And why do I have that question posed? This man, the days that he used in his argument, he said how many days? 207 days. And when I check how many days load shedding happened, it's around 200. It's 200. It could be wrong, could be right, but it's around that. And
so
then I look
200.
at hours that we suffered load shedding according to CSIR analysis. It shows that it's 2,896, and it is at 2,900. Why I would be more believing the person who's saying this guy was coach? It's specifically because of that. You are in jail, you are in custody, you are dealing with matters that probably do not allow you that much to read papers or even do something like that. Because I checked where this thing was published. I don't think you'd have that information in jail or in custody. So the things that he was saying all of a sudden after being quiet, they don't make sense because they are so correct.
His first court appearance, he was quiet. Second court appearance, he was quiet. In fact, he looked traumatized, like the cameras were kind of scaring him. I don't know if you guys remember that. And now he's ranting, and he's ranting facts.
And I know people are saying, yeah, because now he can talk, yes, continue, arrest him.
And you could see as if he's trying to remember in his rant.
Yeah, that's my problem. But if the party that I just mentioned here was not aware that this could be something heading to their door, I think they should look at that. That's my thinking. Because this sounds like all that is left is one person to come and question who's paying Dali Mpofu. And then from there, boom, we have a story.
Which is focusing more on the...
And one also have to take into consideration that we are going to 2024. And I think the most growing party currently is this one that we are currently talking about now. So there could be that coup of saying that let us distract this direction.
And another thing that I also read upon is that Advocate Dali Mpofu actually came through. He couldn't attend his day with Zandile Mafe in court today. But he came through, and he actually is wanting for Zandile Mafe to be assessed by a psychiatrist. He said there's a meeting they have.
He wants a second opinion.
He wants a second opinion before he can take what the psychiatrists have diagnosed.
So that means there's a lack of belief in what he's being told.
And for them to go to that assessment and eventually finding out what they've always wanted to find out from the very beginning. Allegedly. Because it's not the first time that they're running tests on him. They've run tests on him before, and they're running them again. And they are all coming to this of he can't stand trial, and he also is not accepting of his wrongdoings, right? So to me also, I'm a bit worried about the wanting him to not be okay when everyone else who knows him personally has said otherwise. In fact, I'll include footage of people that actually have said otherwise, that they don't believe that he has mental problems.
So not a violent person. When we were together, he would ask me how everyone is doing at home in Mahikeng. Then I would tell him. He would even remember people he attended and ask me about them.
Now what's happening is this. There's a referral which they are arguing to a Falkenberg. Brother Wetu, akaphambani leaders. He knows his name. He says he's not guilty. He says he knows why he was in town. Ageko lost. It's just the state, because they ran the case. That's why they're going to fish around.
Government or whatsoever that you might think of. And then from now we have moved away from that, or we haven't. So therefore, it could be anybody, it could be a political party or whatsoever. But my feeling is that the coaching, if it happened indeed according to what we actually, that Twitter person who's saying this person is coached, if you find it difficult to see that, then you have a problem. So if there was a coaching, then the coaching is really pointing to one direction. It is pointing to that part of, I would say, EFF. And I don't believe that. Anything that might come out after this and say, hey, this is EFF involvement, I would be the first one to say, I really don't believe. I'm not part of them, but I just listened to him, and I remembered as he was talking, I could remember the arguments that Shivambo had in the parliament
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And the fight that EFF has been having of moving the parliament. And I mean, if you were to really now hear what he's saying, you would just fit the whole conversation and say, oh yeah, that's it.
Sounds like
it. But in my own humble opinion, I would, that's why I'm even saying it before, if it was to happen, I would never believe that.
And what's troubling also, and the hard part about believing it, is this particular party does not have moving. I wouldn't say that they are able to move the way they move in Gauteng, in the Western Cape. I could be wrong. That is a side. That's why they are not even interested in having a parliament. It's a side that seemingly supports certain people. Yes. So they don't like. I mean, I would also be happy if it was here, either in Joburg or wherever. I don't care, but not that side. I've never been that side in myself. I've never. So those are the things that you have to look at, but. What we are trying to do here, we're not putting any allegations to anyone, but all we are saying is that sounded like that's, if there was coaching, then that coaching then should be scrutinized, because it kind of is building a certain narrative without many words. If there was really a coaching, as the Twitter would say, because other people are saying that this person sounds rehearsed. Others are saying this person must be arrested. But focusing on those ones who are saying this person sounds rehearsed. Let's say that theory was true. The rehearsal, then it sounds similar to the arguments that have been put. Even the robust way of dealing with some issues that are seemingly dehumanizing certain people. Do you understand? So, is that the case though? Should we be even thinking about that and having those thoughts? This is South Africa. Anything is possible. But all I'm saying is that I do not believe that could be the case. I will need I would need real hard proof. I'll still stand and say this was a guy who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I said that, and I'm still saying that. And this is my opinion. I've picked up that there is footage from Times Live. They say that they got confirmation that the only thing that would convince me is perhaps seeing it with my own two eyes.
Yeah, even though that would be the case.
Someone also said that even though that might be the case,
it's still
they believe that perhaps he was told or instructed to do it. Someone said it.
And if indeed it was there, or if it is there, why are we still holding it then? So it's a lot of things. But this case, this crime that happened there, which is very heinous, it might turn out to be, what we are trying to say, it might turn out to be political.
Yeah, in a summary.
In a summary, what we are trying to say, it might turn out to be political. Beware, open your eyes. So when it comes, you do not sing Osana like everyone else. You scrutinize and look at the information properly. Because really, we are talking about something very interesting here. It would be, I'm sure many people are still not understanding how this thing connects. But when I just had the talk, I just thought of, I've had these conversations.
People, right?
Yeah, it sounded like a deja vu.
And to affiliate that speech and fighting of people of no color with mental disturbance is what's bothering me.
Yes.
It's almost as if we are not allowed to say what our issues are, for they may be affiliated with
not being right in your head.
Illness. And that is a problem.
It just, yeah. And really, out of everything that was said, it sounded like a person who's fine. We are not medical people, but I mean, it sounded like a person who's fine. Obviously, we cannot say a lot here or divulge even more freely. That's why we are trying to because there are rules here. There are rules here. But think about it.
Think about it.
After these videos, you'll see yourself and then you'll be like, oh, actually, it does sound like that. It does sort of push that agenda or makes it fast forward the process of moving. I know that part really likes to engage people and that's what they do. They would like to convince you by talking to you. But the speech, you could really affiliate it to a party that is really pumped up when they're talking about issues of people and whatnot. But is it now gonna go there? And this is an assumption of anticipation in a sense. If there's something like that, I would anticipate something like that. I wouldn't put it far from the situation if there was any political involvement.
So let us digest this. This was more than just a rant. This had a lot of signs in it, and hopefully you guys can make up
and the
your
question
own
is, it
minds.
rehearsed? And if it's rehearsed, then who is it benefiting?
Who is it benefiting? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Well, I think we should wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for watching. This video might probably